Hello, my name is still Michael Harvey, even though I've tried to change it to Iggy Wadadwa, along with some other names, more than once now, twice to be exact, um, plus the refile, so I guess it could count more than twice, but 2 different years I've made the attempt. um, so I wanted to just give a little bit of um, a description of who I am, and so um, I was conceived in Youngstown, Ohio. My parents wanted to name me Eugene Daniel Harvey, or 666. Um, and my brothers and sisters intervened, and they talked my parents into naming me Michael Anthony Harvey. And seeing as the neighborhood became more urban, aka black, um, Michael Anthony was a much easier name for my neighbors to accept, I think. And so that was God stepping in to help me out before I was even born. So, and then God has been a big part of my life and how I became the Prospiracy Theorist. And so that's going to be a major theme. Um, so I started school around 3 or 4 years old at the Oblates, which was a Catholic preschool run by actual nuns. And I kicked a kid off the jungle gym when I was a little kid, and I got whacked on the knuckles for it. Nuns will hit you, and Catholic schools and nuns aren't like the kind little people like they want you to believe they are. Um, and I had Catholic school like all through, and so like I went to kindergarten. You'll see on the slides. In 84 through 93, I was in kindergarten at St. Edward's. That's also where my family went to church. I went to church there all the way until I graduated high school. And like I was an altar boy, a Eucharistic minister. That's who hands out the communion. A lectern, that's who reads from the Bible during the readings. And so religion is very important in my life. And then I went into St. Ed's being called Mikey. Started getting called Mikey in the neighborhood because I'm the youngest of 6 kids, and they were Cindy, Missy, um, Tommy, Chris, Candy, and Mikey. And the only one who didn't get a Y added to his name was the blonde-haired, blue-eyed boy. So yeah, my family. That's another thing. I was raised to be racist, and thankfully my neighborhood was black, as I said, and so that just didn't compute. And I was raised to be a critical thinker, and racism just didn't like compute. I saw that black people and white people were essentially the same, and the people who put efforts into their kids had better kids. Like it wasn't 100% guaranteed that they had a good kid, but I could definitely see that effort led to results. But anyhow, and so in high school, I like studied. I didn't want to be too much of a nerd, and I played football and wrestled as well as the religious stuff. So like I was kind of popular. I was a popular nerd essentially, and I think it was just because I could kind of fight too. Um, so like nobody was stealing this nerd's lunch money. Is what it really came down to. And if you tried, this nerd would probably take yours. But I wasn't into that. I wasn't really a bully. Like I got bullied by my 5 brothers and sisters, so I wasn't into that stuff. But I worked hard. I graduated as a National Merit Scholar. Um, and a couple of interesting things happened to me race-wise in high school. I got in a fight with a black kid on the football team and got suspended, got my jaw broke. It was a whole ordeal, and my family wanted me to retaliate, and I was in the running for the National Merit Scholarship, and I told my family to go fly a kite that I wasn't going to fight the kid again. But then I went and talked to him, and I was like, "Listen, I'm in the running for this scholarship, so I don't want to fight you again and lose that scholarship and be stuck in this crappy town." I was like, but you got to stop telling people that you kicked my butt. Otherwise, like, I'm going to find you in a situation like this, and I'm going to kick the crap out of you. Because when we fought in the street, him and two of his buddies were out there. So there was three of them in the street and just me. And I looked at the one guy, and when I looked away, he punched me in my mouth and busted me up. And when we had this conversation, I was like, where'd everybody go? Um, like, where are all the lunch ladies? And I was like, they want me to kill you so that like your family loses all your money and I end up in jail to be raped and indoctrinated into racism because I'm a Negro lover, to put it kindly. I've been called much worse. But yeah, to be re-indoctrinated because I was a race traitor. So I literally had this conversation with this kid, and so he changed his story, and we never fought again. Blah 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 blah. And then there was another instance where DJ Durkin, the guy who got in trouble at Maryland, the coach, well, he called Troy DeBose. Oh, and the kid that I got in the fight with, his name is Jaron Cobbin. Just if anybody wants to check any of this stuff. But Troy DeBose punched DJ Durkin because Durkin called him the N-word. And I was close enough that I heard it. And I yelled, "You're the real N-word, you public school trash." And I yelled out of my way, and I led a bench clearing charge where us private school kids were going to beat the crap out of the suburbs kids for calling one of us the N-word. So yeah, I did that. And then I went off to college, and I graduated in 3 years with multiple majors and a 3.38. I rounded up for the slide GPA. I actually got turned down for the dual degree program to go to Reutlingen, Germany, possibly because of my pro-black leanings, and they didn't want me to go over to Germany and learn that like the Germans weren't a bunch of racists and they were reforming, but whatever. So I got my first DUI while I was at Indiana University. I played rugby there. I lived in the international dorm, which was probably the best decision I made. I met so many people. My one friend, Mortu Kadam, he bought me shin guards and had me play intramural soccer, essentially just to protect him from and the other foreign kids from the domestic terrorists. Like literally, I would just go out there and knock like people down. I wasn't very good at soccer, but I was like a former football player. So, and I don't like racism and I hate bullies. So I enjoyed that. I would have done it for free. The free shin guards were just to meet the intramural. Like I wasn't allowed to play without them. But anyhow, so I graduated in 2000, like 7 days after I turned 21, moved to Columbus, was on the fast track at Bank One and then JP Morgan Chase, got a second DUI, but I actually was supposed to do 10 days in jail, only did 2, did another 3 days at a weekend Mary Haven retreat thing, and that was it. I just had to pay a lawyer. So that's where I learned that if you have money to throw at problems, problems go away. But I bought my first house by the time I was 24. I was a project manager at 23. And then I found out my dad was ill and was quote unquote dead on paper according to the doctor. And I kind of just lost my stuff and started drinking. Like I went and bought an ounce of weed and a handle of Jameson and just stopped going to work. And I'd like to say I was a great caregiver and spent all my time with my dad. That'd be a lie. I spent as much time with him as I was able to, but it was really hard. And I'm glad I didn't bring him a gun like he wanted me to. Now, like I beat myself up for many years that I didn't bring him that gun so he could kill himself. And I made the right decision, I think. And regardless, I can't go back and change it now. But during that period, that's when I started calling myself the White Devil against Desperate White. a little bit before that is when I found out that they print the dollar bill on cotton. So we all pick cotton. Yes, you are a cotton picker. Cash is printed on cotton. So I'm not going to go into all that, but it's true. Research it. So I ended up going back to work at the bank in '07, before my father had passed away. Like, he lived for 2 years plus, being quote unquote dead on paper. And I had to go back to work, and he died in November, and they walked me out on January 2nd, even though I worked on getting the management cost center hierarchies implemented on December 31st and January 1st. They walked me out January 2nd. Now, granted, I did yell "Das nicht richtig" at a Indian woman from actual India. I forget her name. I think it was Priya. Uh, but Priya Ravinjan, I think. But yeah, I banged my hands on the table and yelled "Das ist nicht richtig," which just means that isn't right, but it was kind of racist. And like, so yeah, they should have walked me out, maybe, definitely, but not on January 2nd. That was pretty low. I think just an intentional low blow. But anyhow, I survived, and went through some nightmare years after this. I lived in Youngstown, Indianapolis, Columbus, and New Hampshire during this time. And a girl that I never really dated at Indiana University, but had hooked up with, looked me up out of the blue on Facebook. And this was right after I had filed bankruptcy and was living with my nephew up in Youngstown. And a couple months after we started talking, she passed the CPA exam, and I had helped her study with that, and she moved me in with her and then took me to Europe and essentially swept me off my feet. And she got a lot of goodwill off of the day trip. The $125 that she spent for the day trip to send me to Europe got her out of a lot of jails. We'll just leave it at that. And yeah, and then the best trip I went to is the one with the asterisks, the Montana trip that I went to with my current girlfriend, who I dated a little bit while me and the baby's mom were split up. And I'm not going to go into all that, but women are my kryptonite, and I'm very thankful to be back with the girl who took me to Montana for my birthday. I love you, Cindy. And so anyhow, that those were the nightmare years where I was with the baby's mama off and on. And then you see my son was born. He was born in August of 2012, and changed my life. Changed my life. Helped me break some generational curses, and just made me a much better person. And then, like, the last 9 years has been trying to get back into my son's life, or to make any type of meaningful employment in this, like, capitalistic nightmare. I got a third DUI in December of 2016. That's around the time I tried to kill myself for the second time with a gun. I've tried to kill myself in a car numerous times, and blah, 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 blah. But I've put a gun to my mouth twice and pulled the trigger and not died. And so that is why I think I am, like, here for a reason to help us start printing money on hemp, not cotton, and to back it with water instead of nothing, and to take care of people instead of exploiting them. And that's what I want to do with my life. And I started a company to start doing that, Ubuntu Enterprises LLC, in March of 2018. And I had a dream about, I call them Empire's Nonprofit Integrated Renewable Energy Solutions. They're essentially like altering bridges to make them renewable energy power stations that generate clean water and organic fertilizer as byproducts of generating electricity and creating and farming natural gas. So, and then since 2018, I tried to run for city council in 2019 and lost. I went back to school in 2020, and this is all because I really couldn't find enough customers to make my company viable, even though I would do anything from accounting work to cleaning your gutters. So in 2020, I got arrested for stalking, even though the restraining order wasn't filed until I was already in jail. Ironically, it was filed on the day I was supposed to change my name or sue my ex-wife, because it was on August 3rd and August 4th, respectively. And the restraining order was filed and then delivered on those same exact days, August 3rd and August 4th. But that's not the government or the mob trying to tell me that I couldn't change my name. Whatever. So anyhow, I didn't back down, and sometime during the four or 5 years from May of 2018 until now, I came up with Peace Key and Prospiracy Theorist, and I just think people will be more receptive to Prospiracy Theorist. A Peace Key is just the opposite of a warlock. And I believe magic is just science that we don't understand yet. And I do a lot of meditation, and things kind of happen that I will with my mind, it seems, and I call that magic. But I think there's some science behind it that we just don't understand yet, involving like electrons or maybe mushroom spores. Who knows? I don't know. I just know that when I meditate and focus, sometimes things happen. And I know there is a God, because there have been too many miracles in my life. And the fact that I'm still alive. I mean, I had a cop kneel on me before they took me to the psych ward for the second time. And yeah, he knelt on my chest for a couple minutes, and I should be dead. But I'm here. On top of the suicide attempt. So like, yeah, I really hope I'm successful. And if not, I hope these videos that I make inspire somebody to do what I think needs to be done. And that's going to be a different video. And I went over 15 minutes, but I think this is a good introduction to who I am. And I didn't mention white privilege, but my first public school was Indiana University. So I definitely had some white privilege, even though I have some Native American blood. I don't go into that, and I'm not trying to claim any of that because I don't want anything. I want to give things back, but regardless, I think everything is connected, and we are all one race. So that shouldn't matter anyhow. But I look forward to making more videos and explaining myself further and my ideas and trying to make the world a better place. Thank you. And good will conquer evil, love will conquer hate. Manaz in Lakesh, namaste. Ubuntu, love, a little love goes a